On the 104th anniversary of an important date in American history and world history, we once again remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice on Veterans Day. And in a very chilly rink here in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio area, alongside Garrett Drake, I'm Sam Weixler for the Indiana Hockey Broadcast Network. Tonight on Rink 2, the Canada rink, so-called, at the SportsPlus Center, it's Indiana and Xavier. Indiana coming off a 1-5 record in their last 6 games with an 8-7-0 record overall, and the Xavier Musketeers have not gotten out of the starting blocks just yet. 0-11 to start the season and have not won in the TSCHL since 2021.
Yeah, and you know, when you're 0-11, anytime you come to the rink, you're just dying to get that first win. But they let a lot of goals in, they give up a lot of shots, and Jack Frams is going to be out sick today, so they're in for a heavy challenge, them being the Musketeers.
As we mentioned, both sides coming off a loss, although the number of losses is really the separating factor on that side. The injuries, as you mentioned, Jack Frams, the netminder for the Xavier Musketeers, last year he was the only goalie on the roster in a roster that was depleted because of COVID. They were missing 6 skaters last year and barely had enough to field a full team.
Yeah, and it's incredible how they were even able to make it through a full season, especially considering the wear and tear that goalies specifically take. It's getting hard for me to move my mouth. It's so cold in here, Sam, but yeah, it was incredible what he did last year, and he did get that honorable mention to the All-TSCHL team, so Frams put in a lot of work last season, but this year it's going to be a different person in net for the Musketeers, somebody Indiana hasn't seen yet.
Adam Goad, a newcomer for the Musketeers, will be in net, although he will wear that number 29 sweater because that's the only goalie jersey they have right now. For Indiana, the injuries have started to trickle in. Not as bad as they were at times last year, but one leader, a junior, Matthew McKay, a defenseman, he's going to be out for several more weeks. Tinos Raftis is going to be out. Austin Williams has a knee issue that will keep him out for the next 2 weeks or so. And the lines have really been shuffled around. Guys like Adam Offenbach getting back into the lines, and a lot of other changes that forced Coach Weiss to shift things around.
Yeah, and you touch on the injuries. Part of that is because every single series this team has played, it's been ultra physical, and I expect that to continue this weekend as well, but Indiana has to really take things into their own hands and jump out to the aggression first, because they've been getting pushed around a lot this year, and you can tell that some of the guys are feeling it.
Well, we're told there will not be a national anthem despite the fact that it's Veterans Day, and there will not be a reading of the starting lineups here in the chilly barn at the SportsPlus. So we'll send it to a quick break before the warm-ups elude us and the time ticks off the big board. Alongside Garrett Drake, I'm Sam Weixler. Indiana and Xavier coming up from Cincinnati. This is the Indiana Hockey Broadcast Network. The poppies are pinned on sweaters and jackets, and the boys are out on the ice. It's the Xavier Musketeers at 0-11-0 and still winless in the TSCHL against the Indiana Hoosiers. Club Hockey at Indiana University is brought to you by the following team sponsors: Corson Fire and Security, the Blue Blazers Events Group, and Top Flight Hockey. Well, back with you again on the Indiana Hockey Broadcast Network. It's Wex and GD for an exciting game between the Muskies and the Hoosiers. Indiana in their red sweaters from right to left, as it would appear. And the home hockey club, the Xavier Musketeers, in white sweaters and blue bottoms. A lot of changes as far as numbers are concerned for the Xavier group. They're missing a few jerseys, as it would be, Garrett. Nonetheless, we expect a very fast-paced game and a physical one, especially in the waning moments.
Yeah, no question about that. It could be a barn burner tonight for this Indiana team. They have a high-powered offense, and this Xavier team gives up a lot of goals, so things could get dangerous.
For the Indiana Hoosiers, 8-7-0 overall and 4-4 in the TSCHL. It's head coach Andrew Weiss. Garrett, can you see whether Weiss has the poppy on his sweater, or did it fall off in warm-ups?
It looks like he lost it, Wex.
Well, that's all right. We'll get him a new one at the end of the first frame. Over on the opposite side of the scorer's table, in his first year at the helm for the Xavier Musketeers, it's head coach Ryan Talty. He is a veteran of this Xavier club, playing in 2015 through 2018, and this is his first coaching job. Garrett, we were told during the pregame ceremonies and discussions with their scratches and other lineys that Mr. Talty, Coach Talty now, is in social media analytics, and one of the groups he worked with was Twitter. I had to ask and see if he was one of the guys that got snizzed after Twitter had all those layoffs, and they said they hadn't asked yet. Well, we're underway from Cincinnati, the SportsPlus Center to be exact. Indiana in all red from right to left. In the cage is Brendan McCaskey, making his second start of the year. And from left to right will be the Musketeers. Indiana put up 78 shots the last time they were at this venue against this club. And the last time Indiana played on this surface, they beat the Ohio Bobcats in the first round of the TSCHL playoffs. If you're wondering how the Musketeers fared in those T-tourney games, well, we'll have to disappoint you. They did not make the T-tourney as they finished last in their division in the T. Indiana racing forward with the new letters on their sweaters for captains and alternates. Jeremy, a backhanded shot right in front. Adam Goad pushes it away, and it's bound into the boards behind the glass. A quick one-timer flies past the bar and ricochets into the corner. Dylan Russo, the team president and captain, sends a flop shot across the neutral zone before Chambers gets a face full of glass. Poked into the near side point, and it slides right toward the scorer's table at the red line, and it's chopped out by Ray Myers in his second game this year. Myers was a non-rostered practice player until being moved up to the varsity line, if you will, Garrett, and he has been a tough cookie, even though he has a small stature than some of the other D-men.
Ray Myers was an honorary member of the media team, but it's great to see him back on the ice as he was dealing with an injury.
Indiana still on the attack. 18:24 to go in period number one. Still donuts and goose eggs up. Gustafson weaving through the slot. Dangle shoots. Gets poked off of his stick and into the corner. And now we've got a whistle being blown as the net came off its moorings.
Looks like Gustafson tried one too many moves right there as he was stick checking back and forth, and then kind of just got stuffed right into the pad.
Adam Goad, the freshman, an 0-2-0 record in 3 games played, has allowed 25 goals. And for those of you scoring at home, that's a goals allowed average of 929 according to the ACHA website statistics.
Which we know how reliable those can be.
In most circumstances, yes, Garrett, although for these stats, I did have to do it by hand this time around. Xavier has been outshot in nearly every single game and all of the games that we have statistics for. They allowed 67 shots in the 7-2 loss against Bowling Green on the road, and then followed it up the next night at home, allowing 60 shots. Garrett, like we mentioned, Indiana is a volume shooting team, averaging over 40 shots on goal per game and allowing around 30. So I think we can expect for Indiana to throw everything they've got at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, they dropped a 70 piece on this Xavier team last year. Frams was able to hold them to just 10 goals, but that was an incredible display of offense last season from the Hoosiers.
Indiana's going with one of their backup netminders, Brendan McCaskey, as we talked about.
McCaskey, a junior and a veteran of this team, played last year in a handful of matches. And this year, a 1-0 record. .914 save percentage as well. And he performed admirably. Puck spins like a top across the blue line. And the Musketeers will take a stroll through their own neighborhood and reset. Flung forward off the stick of Sam D'Antonio. Chipped against the glass and back through the neutral zone where Mahan gets his pocket picked by Kissel. Jack Kissel named the captain in his senior year here at Indiana. Here comes DiLorenzo. Swings behind the cage. Has no options, and now Dipsy-doos along the circle. Fed to the boards on the near side. That's Jack Null digging it out, trying to cycle it before it's smacked out of the air wildly. Back to Null. High slot. A shot kicked away by Goad. Second chance. Score! Nano Arana gets the score. It's 1-0 with 16:44 to go here in the first. And Garrett, I had to do a double take on my sheet because he's listed as number 28. But regardless, Emiliano Arana gets goal number 4 on the season. And boy, what a great second chance opportunity.
Yeah, Wex, Nano putting the rebound away right there, and I think it might be a guessing game for us the entire night, trying to figure out some of the Xavier players as well, but we're going to do our best for you guys at home.
Stolen away, Matt Adams weaving around, trying to find a teammate, but no white sweater was there to receive the pass. Retreating to his own end is Cardalicchio, who we're told has a couple different pronunciations for his last name, and his teammates aren't really quite sure which one is the correct pronunciation. D-to-D pass between Warner and Timmons gets fed all the way across into the Xavier end zone. Nano Arana trying to dig it out from the corner. He spins around using his body to shield the puck, and it's ripped away from him. Here comes Burns on the far side in front of the Xavier bench, poked between a couple of legs. There's Drew Michelli moving in on it, and it goes around one corner where McCaskey jumps out to stop it. Michelli loses it under his legs, and Hawkins comes in to yank it away. Now to Simino. He moves along. Pass to the far side. There's Brandenburg moving on to it. Gives it a whack and tries to toilet bowl it around. Simino stops it and moves the opposite direction into the far corner. At the circle, a swing and a drive by Hawkins. It doesn't hit the target. May have redirected on its way.
Hawkins was setting up for that one-timer, too. He was waiting for it.
Puck slides lazily through the slot. Simino tries to lay chase, and it is gloved down by the center fielder Hawkins. Moving into the zone, here's Michelli near side. A quick shot. Misses the far corner and exits the zone again. Myers, a good pass the width of the neutral zone, and it's swung in again. Roulette wheeling from near to far. Fishing it away is Rapini. He nearly gets decked. And Brandenburg has it in the trapezoid. Feeding to the near side. Slavin back to Hawkins, working the blue line. Through traffic, gloved by Goad. And the clock will freeze it 15 minutes even here in period number 1. And according to the big board over to our right side here in rink number 2, the Canada rink, the shots on goal are 3-0 in favor of the Cream and Crimson.
First time that Goad got tested with the glove hand right there, and he came through strong, standing up to make the snag.
Face-off won by Indiana. They've won about 56% of the face-offs this year. And they will win it, but have to retreat. Gustafson gets it kicked away from him for a moment. And then Slavin's able to enter the zone. Gustafson dangles. A backhanded shot flutters over the bar. Back behind the cage again, and it is held by Goad to stop the momentum again. 14-40 in frame number 1. Indiana up by a single tally thanks to Emiliano Arana getting his 4th tuck of the year.
And that's Indiana hasn't scored quickly in very many games this season, so it's great to see them jumping out to a 1-goal lead, and it was just less than 3 minutes in at the time.
According to the ACHA website, the Musketeers have not scored the first goal in any of their games so far. They had a struggle against Louisville where they gave up 2 goals in the first 50 seconds. Indiana wins back possession at center ice. Gustafson tries to toe drag around Dylan Russo unsuccessfully. Now here's Chambers moving in. He has to cede possession back toward a teammate, and it's knocked away. Mahan flutters it to the boards where Raffone pushes it back in front of the Xavier bench. It's no secret that Xavier has struggled as a program in the last few years, being less of a ship with big sails as compared to a raft. Now moving through Offenbach, his shot gets redirected wide onto the far side. These two sides going head to head Indiana is 4-0, including a shootout win in 2019 in the last 4 contests. Indiana gets blown for offside, and the clock will freeze at just over 13.5.
Looks like they got T-Mac for sneaking in a little early right there. It looked pretty close.
So in the last 4 meetings between these two sides since Indiana joined the TSCHL, the plus-minus favors Indiana by 13. Played in after the draw. Indiana gains the zone. Kissel whacks at it. Hawkins a shot. Right in. Bounced off the chest of Goad and back into the slot. Now to McDonald, who no-looks it to Hawkins. He holds the zone, and it's gloved down by Kissel. His errant pass goes into the corner, and it ricochets against the glass before a Musketeer is sent into it. Offenbach, working the blue line, feeds to the backside. A shot through. Hits somebody in the leg, and Goad is able to fall on top of it, bending over at the waist and freezing the puck with 13 and 9 seconds to go.
I was surprised that that shot by Hawkins from the corner of the blue line made it straight to the goal and hit the chest of the netminder right there. I didn't think that puck had a chance. It missed 2 or 3 bodies on the way to the net.
Well, not a surprise, Garrett, that Xavier ceded the first goal. They are second to last in the ACHA D2 in goal differential at minus 59. The only team worse than them is St. Cloud State. And in their defense, all their good players are with the NCAA team at St. Cloud State. Only a handful of teams in the TSCHL have varsity teams, if you will, NCAA squads. Michigan, Bowling Green, Miami of Ohio, just to name a few right there. Indiana on the attack again. A quick swinging shot by Arana whizzes wide. Chased into the corner where Hawkins gets stood up. Again, Xavier winning possession where DiLorenzo finishes a check hard and sends Pereira face first into the glass. Turning around is Chris Keetle. Hawkins rolls the pass into the neutral zone and gets it back after a little 1-2. Pushed forward, Arana on a give and go. Here comes Null entering the zone. He gets it batted off of his tape and back to Arana. Gets spun around and the stick yanked out of his hands. Along the boards on the near side. Pushing forward is Carson Evrard. Again, he loses possession. Here comes DiLorenzo. Near circle, he goes right off of his tape and it's scooped up by Semino. Fed to the backside, kicker a shot. Sails along the edge of the windowsill and into the near side corner. Goodfellow pokes at it, throws it along the blue line. Kicker throws again. Semino a one-timer, blocked by Goad, rolling through the slot. Goodfellow backhands it and leaves it for Kicker. On a change, bouncing around under the legs of a D-man, and here comes Mahan finally carrying it out of trouble. Michele gets a whack after the play, and Goodfellow was able to take care of that rush and put out the fire. 11.5 to go in frame number 1. Indiana up by just a single goal. 2-on-2 rush. Here comes Will Jeremy leading the team in goals. Had Semino with him, but they couldn't make anything spectacular on that rush. Finally, a 3-iron smacked out of the zone, and Timmons controls it. Warner pops it against the boards, and Michele gets pushed around. Now gaining the zone, Jeremy reaches and lunging for it, but it's up to Timmons to gain the zone yet again. His sandwich goes behind the cage, and Gustafson moves in but can't hold on to it. Now rushing away, here's Raffone. Again, Gustafson on the puck. Garrett, we've seen him all over the place, and we've said his name about 1,000 times so far.
Yeah, number 20's flying around. Jack Gustafson, here he goes again.
Little dipsy-do it dangle. Feeds to the slot. Right into the legs of Will Jeremy. That was Brandenburg who gets his stick lifted, and now a rush the opposite direction. Here comes Burns. Warner throws his blades into the ice as the Musketeers get a change. Retreating back into their own end, that's Andrew Monroe. Played to the near side. Warner sidesteps a hit, and it's kicked forward by Matt Adams at the red line. Garrett, we expected some physical and choppy play, and that's what we're going to see so far. Saucer pass right over toward Brandenburg. It jumps off of his tape and nearly smacks a scratch on the side of the head with 2 ticks over 10 to go here in period number 1. And still just a 1-goal margin between teams that we really expected to have a vastly different start.
Yeah, Wex, you mentioned the chippiness. We've already seen a couple twigs flying around, so People are slashing for the hands, trying to gain an edge.
Hawkins moves through, waffle boarded into the corner on the near side by Goad. Xavier averaging 1.8 goals per game, whereas Indiana averaging just over 5 goals per game. Indiana's highest this year, a 10-2 rout of Bowling Green in Game 1 at home. Fed through the slot, Goad has to punch it away into the corner again. For Indiana, a couple tough games early on in the season. They got shut out in Game 2 against Michigan State. Up in East Lansing, a 4-0 victory for the Spartans. As Xavier tries to gain the zone, but the play has been blown dead with 9:22 in period number 1.
Indiana currently leading the shot battle 8-1. Brendan McCaskey only got tested one time, but he was able to make the save. So the Indiana offense generating a lot more here early than Xavier, as expected so far.
Brendan McCaskey, as we mentioned, his second start of the season. Allowed 5 goals in a victory. Played forward, and it stopped right in the middle of the high slot. Offenbach, a stretch pass up to Kissel. Senior to senior. Kissel a shot. Scooped up by Goad after bobbling it momentarily. And a dangerous drive. Kissel nearly got out all by himself into space.
Yeah, Kissel, the newly named captain of this squad, trying to make his mark here in his senior campaign.
Xavier coming off a weekend where they were beaten by Kentucky pretty badly, outscored 19-4 in a home-and-home series. The first one at home, 10-4, the Wildcats took the win. And on the road in a Midnight Madness game, Xavier was dumped 9-0. Again, the play blown dead with just under 9 to play in period number 1. And Garrett, a tough angle here in the second rink at this barn. We were initially expecting to be at the USA rink where we broadcasted the TSCHL championships last year. But this one will have to suffice for this evening.
Yeah, we're stuck in Old Canada, eh? Going back to Jack Kissel a little bit, though, Wex, he lit up the score sheet last season, had a very successful junior campaign, and he's one of those guys where if he gets it going, he can really go on a hot streak, and I expect to see that soon.
McDonald, a shot through the trees, hits the Musketeer logo on the front of Goad's chest, and they will put the horses back in the chute and do it all over again. Xavier averaging 7.3 goals allowed per game. And Indiana, as we mentioned, has had several games where they exploded on the score sheet and others that were a bit of a dud. Backside feed attempt, knocked high into the air by McDonald. He gets it back to himself. Stick handles into the slot, trying to keep his eyes up. Finds a lane to shoot in, hits a Musketeer in the chest and into the corner. Offenbach fighting to win the puck back. McDonald tried to go down to a knee to block that, and it'll be icing with 8:17 remaining. Shots on goal 10-1 according to the scoreboard, operated by the scratches across the ice from us. Xavier, as we mentioned, just one shot. They averaged 25 shots on goal per game. And the lowest they've had this year was in their most recent contest against Kentucky, where they only had 15 shots all game. Fed right in front, jammed at, Goad plops down on top of it. And again, stymies the Indiana attack.
This first period's been flying by here, already down to 8:07 remaining. Not a whole lot of action to report early on, however.
Surprising that two teams that average north of 17 penalty minutes per game, 18 for Xavier and about 17 and change for Indiana. We had no stoppages for infractions of the rules. Warner turns tail in his own end and pushes it against the glass. Jammed at as Xavier tries to win the puck back in attacking territory for once. Again, it ricochets along the window, and Warner lays a shoulder rather, into Burns. He scoops it up in the corner and then gets stood up yet again. Nano Arana moving in. Plays the puck from his knees, trying to get it to a teammate, and DiLorenzo moves in to help him out. Kicked forward this time by Arana, doing everything he possibly can to keep it moving. Odd man rush, 2-on-1, now a 2-on-2. DiLorenzo's shot goes wide. Held into the zone by Warner, feeding to the backside off a deflection. and Timmons has to push it towards Semino. Now to DiLorenzo again. Indiana cycling the puck 5-on-5. Gets lofted up into the air off a deflection. Arana gets a face first of glass. And the shot from Warner gets spun into the corner. Burns pushing his man against the glass, and moving in again is D'Antonio. Arana, near side circle. His shot goes off the leg protector of a Musketeer defenseman. Timmons avoids the hit and feeds behind the end zone where Semino finds it. Now to Jeremy, a one-time pass over to Hawkins, who corrals it with his skate blade. Michele moving into the circle on the near side. Indiana trying to get a sustained attack, and a shot by Hawkins nutmegs Michele. He tried to let it go all the way through on a dummy pass, but it did not find the cage.
Indiana's really been spreading out in the offensive zone here. They've got a player in about every zone possible.
Semino feeds right in front. Jammed at. Second chance. Scores. It's Griffin Timmons putting a crooked number up on the board. His second tuck of the year. 6:16 to go here in period number 1, and Indiana has given themselves a 2-goal margin with plenty left to play here in the first.
And early on, it looks like these Hoosier defensemen are really trying to get down and crash the net. Sam, be ready for rebounds, and right there, Timmons put it away.
Well, the coaching staff for Indiana, Trueblood, Weiss, and Granda, have been stressing for the past several weeks now attention to details in the small things. As here we see a little small touch by Michele get left for Semino. Played into the high slot, fought for ferociously by Jeremy, and it's played against the boards. Chipped into the zone, Michele laying chase with Semino in tow. Into the corner, rolling across the paint, and Goad watches it scoot past him. Indiana, too many cooks in the kitchen. Semino has to hand pass it to himself, and then a shot by Hawkins finds a Musketeer body. Indiana forced to retreat and vacate as both sides will get a change. Indiana a wholesale. Gustafson on the forecheck, forces an errant pass. He touches up, and entering the zone is Ray Myers. His shot goes high up onto the mask of Goad, who has to throw his arms into an X and hold on to it.
Yeah, you caught that one alligator style, like you're playing baseball, fielding the ground ball. It's one of those where you got to try to flip the glove over, get the wrist going.
Eats you up a little bit. 5.5 in period number 1, 2-0 the score. Nano Arana, goal number 1 for Indiana, and Griffin Timmons gets the second one. As we say that, the puck pops out of play, and a lady in a Xavier basketball jersey decides to pocket that one, and a new puck will be procured from the scorer's table.
Looked like she was ready to throw it back onto the ice. She thought about it.
Well, there's a protective netting of sorts, sort of like a fake roof, that's preventing us from getting a good angle, as well as preventing a puck from smacking and hitting us on the top of the head like it nearly did at Kentucky. Another shot on goal for Indiana, 14-1. The one shot on goal was handled by the leather of McCaskey quite calmly. Indiana again wins the draw. Rugby scrum forces the puck out, and it's James Raffone who gets manhandled and met by 4 different red sweaters.
Xavier having some difficulty getting through the neutral zone here.
As we talked about in the pregame, Xavier did not have enough guys to field a full roster last year in their first season back since COVID, in everyone's first season back, to be fair, since COVID. And Frams had his hands full trying to man the pipes in a very struggling season for the Musketeers. Indiana trying to set up a play. Gustafson dumps it off to no one in particular, and it gets smacked against the boards. Here comes Slavin. Doesn't have a red sweater with him. Will try a wraparound, but it bounced off his tape. Centering, wobbling through. Offenbach, a second-timer. Kicked again. Offenbach off the post. No goal, waved off by the linesman. What a tough break. Offenbach nearly had his first goal of the year.
And it looked like Slavin was going for a Michigan attempt on the wraparound there. Just lost to the puck as he was bringing it up.
Well, Garrett, you and I talked about it as it happened when Indiana went to Vinton, Virginia into the ACHA showcase. We had some serious technical difficulties and couldn't broadcast, but we watched an opponent pull the Michigan goal off against Indiana. A worm burner from McDonald zips into the corner after a deflection. And the Musketeers not able to liberate the puck from the zone. on their own accord. McDonald controlling it again, shielding the puck. Steps over a stick lift. Thinks about a shot. Now feeds to the backside. Jammed out by Timmins. Again ricocheting. Timmins tries to go top shelf and it misses. Offenbach, a no-look backhander into the corner where it's thrust away by Monroe. Kept in the zone. Timmins gets a face full of stick and the puck wobbles clear the blue line. Change for the Musketeers is in order. We're at just over 3 minutes to play in period number 1. Warner tries to toe drag around a man. That was Matt Rapini. Again along the boards in front of us and the handful of spectators that are in attendance. Change for the Musketeers as well as Indiana. Brought in, Everard gets bounced against the boards and the glass vibrating violently along the side closest to us, Garrett. Arana gains the zone, twirls a little bit, sauces over toward Hawkins. His shot punched away into the corner. DiLorenzo getting a bit of a cross-check in the hip, and it's played out of trouble. Hawkins gets stood up, and Arana gains the zone again. Stick handling, shooting wide of the target to the far side, kept in by Myers. Played toward Null. His centering attempt flies through the air and over to DiLorenzo where it's collected. Another centering pass. Little high this time, and it smacked the knees of John Cardelicchio. He carries it away. A wall pass to himself, but he can't get back to it initially. Myers spins around and will hold in the trapezoid and try to quarterback the offense on a set play.
That was a nice little move by Cardelicchio right there to gain the zone. Xavier had some trouble getting through, but looks like they found a new strategy.
Null tries to zip a pass over toward DiLorenzo. Instead, that attack was cut down by Xavier, and Indiana will get a change. 90 seconds or so here in the first period. Indiana up by just a crooked number.
And still just one shot for the Musketeers so far. McCaskey's just been hanging out over there.
Got to wonder if he's getting bored or a little bit sleepy,
he's
Garrett.
Definitely getting cold. There's no question about that.
We are at 11:20 Eastern Standard Time as the daylight period has ended. A quick shot on is blocked. It never reached McCaskey, and it's pushed forward from kicker over to Simino. 4-on-2 rush. Here comes Indiana. Kicker. It bounces off of his tape and over to the far circle. Indiana couldn't make anything of that, and it looked like they had a 5-on-3 for a moment. Jeremy, no-look dump to Warner charging forward, and Simino has to smack it away again. Under a minute to play, 40 seconds or so, and it is pitchforked by Matt Adams all the way into the corner. Warner, smaller in stature than the man chasing him down. That was Kevin House. He gets pushed into the boards, and a shot from close range. Stifled by McCaskey. He stood his ground and hugged the post. 22 seconds to go in the first. Timmins shovels it to the near side along the glass. Gustafson nearly gets lit up. Was lucky not to take a shoulder to the face. Dozen seconds or so left, and Indiana might not have another attack left in them. Sent through the air, grabbed down by Adams. And that's how period number 1 at the SportsPlus Center will come to a close. So Indiana jumps out to a lead, but not too quickly. It's 2-0 thanks to Nano Arana. And then the goal by the sophomore Griffin Timmins. Two guys from the region, Garrett, Valparaiso, and the greater Chicago area in the case of Arana. And Indiana doing what we expected them to, although not quite in the quantity that you might have anticipated.
Yeah, early on, they really were the aggressors. They got a lot of shots on goal, 16 in the period. But I was really impressed with how they were controlling the blue line and just keeping Xavier from even getting into the offensive zone at all. They got 3 shots, a couple toward the end, but they were held to 1 for really until there were about 2 minutes left.
Well, Indiana will head to the locker room, and Xavier will walk all the way across this complex to the far side where their locker rooms are located to get a breather and maybe a few ice bags as well, although it might be cold enough that you can just get some cold along your bruises from osmosis. Either way, the Zamboni out and spinning around at center ice, and the boys are in the locker rooms. 2-0 the score through 20 minutes of play. Alongside Garrett Drake, I'm Sam Weixler, and our tech maestro alongside us, Ben Stannard. This is the Indiana Hockey Broadcast Network. We'll be back for the second.
And welcome back to the SportsPlus here in Cincinnati, Ohio, for the beginning of period number 2 between the Xavier Musketeers and the Indiana Hoosiers. The score currently stands at 2-0. Garrett Drake alongside Sam Weixler. And the first period, we saw 16 shots from the Cream and Crimson and just 3 for Xavier. So it's a bit of a one-sided tilt right now. But the deficit for the Musketeers is only at 2, so they're not out of it yet. Looking at the numbers for both sides here, Indiana averaging 5.23 goals per game, and Xavier giving up nearly 8. So we could see a lot of high-powered scoring from this Hoosier team.
Garrett, normally for the second period when I'm working the camera or helping out with other things, I go tarps off and take my suit coat off, but it might be a little too chilly to take it off.
Yeah, no shot today. Near the blue line, Griffin Timmons sauces it over to Slavin. Now down low, Chambers tried a centering pass, but nobody was there. Gustafson continuing to deke around defenders, twisting and twirling. He's displayed quite the handles early on in this one. Chambers plays that one off the boards. Gustafson backhands. And it's cleared out of there. Into the near corner they go. The scratched up boards make it difficult to see at times as Myers sends a shot on that gets deflected out of there. Myers again lets one go, and it's deflected away. Nice work by Goad right there to stop that screamer. And Wex, it looks like these boards in front of us have seen their fair share of hockey.
Well, we were told by the Cincinnati Bearcats broadcast crew that they did some touch-ups to the boards on the other rink, and it looks like these could still use some TLC.
Maybe a little bit of elbow grease would do the trick. Some Windex. Something like that as we get a stoppage with 18:24 remaining.
With how much vulcanized rubber is smeared along the glass, Garrett, they may need something stronger than Windex.
Yeah, just bleach them maybe. Pour a whole bottle on each panel here.
It's a mighty big maintenance budget they'd have to expand for that kind of work, Garrett.
Oh yeah. They put all the money into the USA rink. Off the face-off. Through the neutral zone, the Musketeers gain the offensive. A backhander that just went wide. That one nearly found the back of the net. McCaskey was reaching back to try to stop it. Now kicker grabs the puck from the side of the cage and works up. Indiana can have a 2-on-1 with McDonald and Kissel. McDonald shoots one, and sprawling out is Goad to make the save. Looked like Tommy McDonald wanted to get some air on that puck, but he flubbed it on the ground. Goodfellow works into the corner. Getting slammed up on the boards is McDonald. And now the Musketeers work the other way. Raffone backhands one, and it's grabbed behind the net by Timmons. Indiana been flying up and down the ice early in this one. 17:20 left. Timmons puts on the brakes. Centers one as Brandenburg was hanging out near the crease, but it gets knocked away. Now coming up the ice for Xavier is Connor Roche. He gets run into by a couple Hoosiers, Arana and Warner down there as Leo Warner works his way up. A big hit near the boards as Brandenburg collided into Saunder right there, and we could hear that one all the way over here. Icing gets waved off as Warner chases it down. Now here comes DiLorenzo. He tried dangling through his legs, lost the puck momentarily, now gets it back. And a nice defensive play made by McCulloch to win the battle there. Arana loses it. They miss on that pass, and now Ray Myers with the puck. Big collision near the blue line, and Xavier able to control, and it's slapped into the zone right there by Andrew Monroe. Here comes Jeremy. It's a 2-on-1 with Michele. Jeremy shoots one right into the glove, and it was bobbled by Goad, as that was a rocket of a shot from point-blank range by Jeremy. 15.5 minutes remaining in period number 2. Indiana up to 19 shots now, still 3 for Xavier. Myers works his way in. He's got Simoneau with him. Simoneau shoots one that gets saved by Goad and goes behind the net. A big hit by Sim, and a shot by Jeremy gets blocked out in front. Indiana was knocking on the door of goal number 3 right there, but Goad held strong. Now Jeremy flying into the zone. He gets tripped up, and that's going to be a penalty as McCaskey heads to the bench, and it's touched up with 14:59 remaining, and we've got our first penalty of the day, and it means a Hoosier power play, Sam.
Well, Garrett, this has been quite the issue for Indiana with an extra man onto the ice. I hate to say it, but sometimes, Garrett, we feel like Indiana might be better served with a man down or a 4-on-4 the way they play. They've already got 4 shorthanded goals this year and have scored 3 during 4-on-4 situations. The power play, though, not quite as successful.
Michele off the face-off, plays one off the boards behind the net. And McDonald will look for an opening. The Xavier penalty was called on Sam D'Antonio for tripping as Jeremy hit the deck. Now Jeremy shoots one that gets blocked out in front. And another shot by Warner hit a body. Centering pass, Kissel nearly had one, and the puck is still out there. And Goad finally just lays down on it. We've seen him do that a couple times today. He's taken no chances.
Indiana under 20% on the power play. And Xavier has done relatively well despite their record when they are down a man, but averaging 18+ penalty minutes per game, and you can't really do a whole lot of winning when you're spending that much time in the box.
Jeremy works his way in, then gets knocked off the puck. Now with it for Xavier, Andrew Monroe trying to clear the zone, but it's held in. Finally, they get to neutral ice. And Wex, we might have to do some fact checking during the break, but once I got a closer look at him, I think number 14 in red might be Ty Hogan. We'll have to check on that. Gustafson working in. He goes to the backhand, and that pass knocked away. Now a shot right there gets knocked away. 35 seconds remaining on the penalty here. And now they work their way up. Slavin gains the zone. Now a centering pass and a between the legs attempt by Arana right there gets knocked away.
And Garrett, you mentioned Ty Hogan. If it is him, then I would have to call him a bit of a liar, or at least facetious to say the least. He told me last night that he wasn't going to be playing today.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple looks trying to analyze the face, and I have no idea at this point.
It very well may be Nano.
DiLorenzo gets slammed into the boards as there's 7 seconds remaining on the power play here. Arana puts on the brakes and leaves it off for Hawkins. DiLorenzo gains the zone. Centers one that gets knocked away. Hawkins was there, and a shot by Slavin, and they score. Luke Slavin looks like he put in the loose puck there, and Indiana jumps out to a lead. It's 3-0.
Well, Garrett, it was hard to see how that puck deflected. But for Slavin, the freshman, who's been on the power play a lot this year, finally getting a goal again.
Well, we didn't get a handshake line to confirm who scored it, but it looked like it was Slavin from our vantage point. We'll have to check out the score sheet during the intermission. Rapini sends one on. That's gloved down by McCaskey with ease.
And Garrett, that is if we get to see the score sheet. We were not afforded the opportunity to take a glance at the sheet in the first period because the referees had to call HQ or something like that to figure out if number 14 for Indiana was going to be eligible.
Yeah, there was some uncertainty after the first period as to what happened and what's going on here. Nobody really seemed to know, but at the end of the day, the goal counted, and it's still 3-0 as McCaskey makes another save. 12:27 remaining here. Indiana now up to 23 shots in the game. Xavier has only been able to muster 2 in this period. They win the faceoff in the Indiana zone. A shot from the blue line gets stick down out in front. McCaskey blocks that one away. And it's played there by Matt Maho. Kicker takes a hit into the boards as he slaps that one out of the zone. Now Chambers with Gustafson. Chambers shoots right into the chest, and a save made by Goad.
Yeah, Mahan, another veteran for Xavier that's been on this club for 2 or 3 years at this point, not counting COVID. And Indiana, their shots, not really picking a corner. They're shooting straight into the chest of Adam Goad so far. It'd be nice to see them try to pick their spot a little bit more accurately.
Yeah, and for the most part, Goad has been going down in the center of the net, so there could be some room in those corners if they can get him up there. 12 minutes remaining in the game, or not in the game, in the second period. Got ahead of myself. It's getting late, though. Now behind the net, McDonald pushing and shoving back there, along with Kissel, and coming out with the puck for Xavier is Randall. A centering pass knocked away, and Kissel gets slammed into the boards. That was actually Cardalicio. Myers with a nice block out in front of the net, and he gains possession into the zone. Now coming up for Xavier, Dylan Russo. Near the blue line, a backhand pass gets taken away by Offenbach. Now out front, they have an opportunity. 2 Hoosier players collide, and Kissel gets up and grabs the puck. Fortunate break for Indiana there. Now McDonald shoots one. That one goes wide to the right. He tried to pick a spot, but picked it a little bit too far there. Now working his way in, Connor Roche. Roche shoots one that goes wide of the net. McCaskey moved over a bit, but didn't have to make a save. 10:45 remaining second period here from the SportsPlus in Cincinnati. 3-0 Indiana. Noel grimacing a bit after that hit as he heads to the bench. Looks like he's staying on.
He's a tough customer, Garrett.
DiLorenzo gets double teamed and plays that one underneath. Now Arana, the mystery man tonight. Looking for some room. Nice move. He shoots one off the post and he scores. Arana with goal number 2. And we heard the ding, Sam. He tucked it. He picked his spot. And Indiana now up 4-0.
Just like we were hoping for, Garrett. He picked his corner and drew some iron as well.
So Indiana with 2 goals in the first, and now they have 2 in the second as well. And some team news to share. Last night was team picture night, which meant the captains were also announced. Jack Kissel, the senior from Rye, New York, will be the captain wearing the C for Indiana, and the A's go to sophomores Drew Michelli, Tommy McDonald, and Will Jeremy, all very good leaders on this team. And it took a little bit for Coach Weiss to make the decision on who the captains would be, but I think it's safe to say everybody can agree with those choices.
Absolutely, some veterans and some executive board members that have had a vocal presence on this team for a while now.
Jeremy shoots one, goes over the crossbar. 9:45 remaining. That one gets paddled away by Goad and hits the netting behind the net. So we get a stoppage. Now 27 shots for Indiana. They've got 11 so far in the period.
It's remarkable, Garrett, that Xavier is on pace for about 9 or 10 shots in the entire game at this rate.
That one gets knocked away. Goad makes another save. Brandenburg gloves that one down to himself. And again, the puck goes behind the net and into the far corner. We've seen some flying pucks get high up into the air. They're working on the hang time today, as we can see our own breath here in the SportsPlus.
Garrett, I might have to ask you to hand me the other leather glove that I have on the counter there. My hands are really jamming up on this camera.
I got you at the next whistle. Now out in front, getting slammed down to the ice. And we've got sticks flying. We got a delayed penalty here, and we're going to get a call.
Garrett, that was about as gentle of a full body slam as I've seen up close.
And now they're trying to talk about what's going on here.
Interesting, Garrett. We can hear some of what the referees are saying. He just kept saying, "White, go." And evidently, Will Kicker's not the only one who's going to be taking a seat in the box.
So it's kicker for Indiana and number 27, Dylan Russo, for Xavier. So it looks like we're going to get some 4-on-4 hockey.
Garrett, as we mentioned, Indiana has been lethal when it is extra space opening up on the ice.
Chambers looking for some room. Now Gustafson shoots one that goes wide. And it's kicked out front and controlled there by Maho. 8.5 minutes to go as we play 4-on-4. Gustafson finds Chambers. Chambers gets bodied to the ground and now pursues the puck. Gustafson gets dragged down as well. We've seen a lot of players hitting the deck here. Now a shot by Hawkins gets blocked out in front, and he tried a centering pass, but nobody was there. Myers back over to Hawkins. Another blocked shot. That one hit the foot of Maho. Gustafson losing the puck again, and now Hawkins chases it down. Myers does a good job avoiding the pressure there, and Indiana works back the other way. McDonald works his way in, stops, Deeks shoots, and it's off the chest and covered by Goad, but he decides to play it. 43 seconds remaining on 4-on-4, and then we'll be back to full strength. And they find a man leaking out, camping near the blue line. That was Connor Roche, but a good job getting back by Timmons, who scored a goal for Indiana as well. Centering pass just misses the stick of Warner, and then the two Indiana players collide with each other. It's getting crazy here at the SportsPlus. Still got another period left after these 7 minutes as well.
Garrett, if the boys aren't talking out there, that might explain why they've had some friendly fire at least 3 times already.
Timmons just flips that one up, and now he'll chase it down. Getting harassed near the boards and losing the puck right there was Cardalicio. And we're now down to 6.5 minutes to go, as this is going to go down all the way for an icing. Back to 5-on-5 as well. So we go back down to the other end, 6.5 minutes remaining. Offenbach will take the draw going against Connor Roche. And a shot right off the faceoff gets knocked away. Xavier struggling to get the puck out of their own zone, and now they break out. D'Antonio gets run into by Hawkins. Now Kissel back to Offenbach. He shoots one that gets blocked away. Kissel nearly colliding with the netminder right there. He's finally able to get to his feet. Shots are 29-5 in favor of the Hoosiers as we approach the final 5. Ray Myers plays it over to Brandenburg. Indiana will get a quick change as they try to keep the puck in the offensive zone. It's kicked in by Goodfellow. Now they go underneath. Goody lays a big hit. And Arana deking in, he scores! Emiliano Arana counted up. That's a hat trick, Sam. No lids have hit the ice yet, but Indiana now up 5-0. 3 goals coming from Arana. And what an incredible performance he's put on so far.
Well, Garrett, it's almost too cold for me to take my toque off, but I did take it off, as that is only the second hat trick we've seen this season.
That one gets gloved down by Goodfellow at the blue line. Nice steal in the defensive zone by Kicker right there, and it's kicked over to Arana swooping in. He dekes back in looking for number 4, but it flies off his stick. Now he controls and slaps one on that goes high over the net. Kicker in pursuit, and again a slap shot goes wide. And the clock is not running currently. I don't think anybody's noticed. Now finally they started up. It's still at 5:16. This game just keeps getting crazier and crazier. But we almost expected it. That one chipped up into the neutral zone and chased down and grabbed right there by Nolan Burns. Burns sends one on, paddled away by McCaskey. Now here comes Warner. That one played off the boards. Jeremy trying to chase it down, and they're going to get a shot off here, and the puck goes all the way behind the net. Looks like that was Dylan Russo charging in on McCaskey. Michele gets knocked down from behind, and that's going to be a penalty. They're going to get him for a trip. Number 14, James Raffone, is the guilty party.
And that's tough to have your leading scorer in the bench for Xavier.
No question about that. He's one of the key contributors, leading the team in points. And it's hard to score when you're in the box. So the Musketeers will hope to get him out of there quick. .420 remaining in the second period here as Jeremy wins the draw and then lays down a hit as he heads to the bench. Now the puck loose in front of the net. Gustafson took a whack at it. And this is going to go all the way down. No icing. It looks like they're going to get a high stick.
Garrett, the Indiana bench looked a little befuddled at first after that whistle sounded.
Wouldn't have been surprised if they called an icing on a power play, but you never know what you're going to see when you show up to the rink. DiLorenzo hanging out behind McCaskey, and now he'll go to work. Arana. Cross ice pass finds Slavin. Slave gets the puck back. Tried getting around a defender, and now Arana with it again, centering one for Gustafson. Goes just wide. Indiana's been moving around quite a bit on this power play as they're already a minute in. Slavin wins possession back, and then it's cleared out of there. A nice play by the Musketeers to burn some time off this kill. Now Gustafson charging up. Gets run into near the red line, and the puck is again cleared all the way down to be played by McCaskey. 2:57 remaining in the period. 33 seconds remain on the power play. Jeremy charging in quickly. He gets run into again as bodies hit the deck, and the puck is kept in by Warner. Michelli. Final 13 seconds of the power play. A shot sent on, and it's saved by Goad right there off the stick of Will Jeremy.
Gee, I've got to make a correction. That's not the second hat trick of the season. Will Jeremy had it in back-to-back games in Virginia, and Tommy McDonald had one in the same game as Will Jeremy on that trip.
Yeah, we got to see a lot of interesting things in Virginia and encountered a lot of problems, but we were still there for the games, and it was some good hockey to see. Lots of scoring.
You live and you learn, Garrett.
That's right.
It's called building character.
So that'll do it for the Xavier penalty as they get their leading scorer back from the box. That one chopped down and taken up by Cardalicio. Final 2 minutes of play here in the second period. Indiana leading 5-0. Jeremy centers one for Michelli, and now working his way up is Jeremy. McDonald steals it in the neutral zone. Works his way in. Michelli shoots one off the pad of Goad, and it's still loose behind the net and taken by Indiana. 90 seconds remain here in the second. McDonald chopping at that one. And finally, Xavier able to gain possession. If they can make it out of the zone. Finally, Slavin does, chopping at it again, and working back up is Gustafson. Brandenburg gets laid out as he goes into the boards, and Gustafson gains possession. Now under a minute to play here. Shots on goal are 32-6 in favor of Indiana. It's been a very lopsided affair thus far. Slavin dekes his way in, goes to the backhand, but it goes wide. Lots and lots of impacts here. Players flying around the ice in this cold barn. Gustafson gets out front. Goad did a good job coming out to stop him. 21 seconds remaining. And behind the net, Slavin looked like he was going for the Michigan again, trying to pick that puck up, and then getting laid out is Ray Myers. But Adams lost his stick as he heads to the bench. 4 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1, and that's going to do it for the second frame. Indiana able to add 3 more goals to their total to make it 5-0 as we head to the intermission. We'll have the final 20 minutes coming your way. Sam Weixler and myself will be back on the mic as usual in our normal positions, and we'll be right back on the Indiana Hockey Broadcast Network.
40 minutes are down and 20 are up on the board. 5-0 the score in favor of Indiana. And coming out of the break, the scoreboard shows that Indiana will be on the power play to kick things off alongside Garrett Drake. I'm Sam Weixler back on the call. Indiana putting up 3 goals in that middle frame. Castracani, the hat trick. We were informed during the intermission that is not, in fact, Nano Arana. It is Nicholas Castracani donning the number 14 tonight, Garrett. A little bit of confusion, but Indiana still doing quite well this evening.
Yeah, we both took a little stab at who number 14 was, and we were both wrong.
And there goes the shutout just as we start. 30 seconds into this final frame, Xavier breaks the deadlock on their side of the scoreboard, and Dylan Russo continues to lead Xavier in points. That'll be 12 on the season and 7 goals, and he is clear out in front in that total on the team.
And that just looked like a lack of communication from the Hoosiers on the power play. Giving up the shorty there, nobody picked up Russo on the far side.
Another situation where it's the devil in the details, Garrett. 2-2 rush, zigzagging across is D'Antonio. He spent time in the box. And finally, Indiana collects it in their own end. Trudging forward is Slavin in front of the benches. Sidesteps a referee and then cruises through the trapezoid. Played to Castracani along the glass in the blind spot, and to Hawkins along the blue line. Back to Slavin, who's really working the hash marks. And Garrett, we see Gustafson right in front of the netminder. Shot in traffic, glove bouncing along the crease. Kicked away, and Castracani twirls and then gets squished into the glass. Sharp angle shot. Wraps around and scoots out of the zone, so Xavier will get a chance to put fresh legs onto the ice. Back into the zone. Here's Gustafson, high slot. Moving through, his shot gets kicked away by the shaft of Cardalicchio's stick. 9-ironed all the way down the sheet. Again, a change for Xavier. And it is corralled by Hawkins. Still a power play for the Hoosiers with 15 seconds remaining on it, though. Here comes Castracani zooming in. Cuts in front of the cage. Can't get a shot off. Under 10 seconds on the 5-on-4 for Indiana. They have struggled mightily during power plays this year. Little toe drag by Gustafson. Leaves it to Hawkins, who has to just fork it into the near side corner. Stolen away by Cardalicchio. He moves with some pace and gets grinded against the glass by DiLorenzo. 5 aside now with 17:45 to go in the third. Chasing it down on the forecheck, yanking it away is Raffone. Doing some serious hand-to-hand combat with Hawkins. They've been going after each other, Garrett, and the chirps are nonstop. Adams gets a little shoulder off of it. And now Hawkins holding, finally getting the pass forward. And DiLorenzo has himself some space. 3-on-3 rush. DiLorenzo to the far side. Tucks it around. Quick shot in front. And it sounds like it grazed the iron. Held at the blue line, but it bounces up off of kicker's stick. And he'll have to circle around in the center. 7-on-7 crime. That was Matt Adams knocking kick around, and now Goodfellow watches it get kicked around in front of the crease. Centering pass leaves the zone, and the Musketeers have to vacate. Now moving forward is Simoneau. He avoids a stick lift, plants his blades into the ice, and then cuts back, but he gets his pocket picked by Pereira. Drives him into the boards head first, and what was nearly a dangerous collision ends up with play continuing. Timmons goes down onto his wallet and gets spun around by Rapini. Pushed forward, now Michelli finds some space. 3-on-2 rush for the Hoosiers. Here comes Michelli. His shot paddled away to the near side. Again being carried out of trouble by Pereira. Blowing a tire, here comes Jeremy scooping it up. Near side, sharp angle shot. Saved by the shoulder of Goad. Adam Goad, the freshman. As we mentioned, a .554 save percentage coming into this game after playing 3 games. And really a struggle to find the netminder that will be able to do the most other than Frambus.
Yeah, Goad showing some quick reaction time on that shot by Jeremy. Able to slide over and hug the post before he could tuck it in.
Well, the senior captain, Jack Kissel, as we mentioned earlier on the broadcast, was named the captain for this season. And although he hasn't been off to a start like he did last year, he has still made his presence felt. Here's McDonald, a shot, bounces off the glove, scooped away and cradled. McDonald steals it back along the goal line. No look centering pass, jammed out by Offenbach. Centering chance again, pulled away by the Musketeers. Pass floated in front of Ray Myers' face. He digs into the corner and finishes his check on Randall. Puck toilet bowls around to the near side. Indiana, a little weave play, and finally carrying it through the center circle again is Offenbach. Had a goal last year after a drought that lasted nearly the entire regular season. Big hit at center ice. Russo slides down on his side. Tommy McDonald being harassed, and Garrett, we've seen him be a hard worker and a creative player as well, although he does like to shoot. Here comes McDonald, a quick shot, glove down, second chance, batted away by Kissel. Go didn't know where it was and finally leaned over onto his left pillow and held on to it with just under 15 to play.
As soon as you talk about how Tommy likes to shoot, he lets one go. And Indiana now up to 38 shots in the game.
Last weekend, Indiana was swept by Louisville, although there were 8 different goal scorers, 3 of which were freshmen. Some of the usual suspects, if you will, Jeremy, Michele, McDonald, as well as Castricani, who we've seen get 3 goals tonight, alongside Gustafson and Whitliff. Gustafson, one of those young phenoms brought in this year, who has been zipping around tonight, Garrett.
Yeah, Gustafson's been putting a pretty tremendous puck handling display on for us, dangling through defenders left and right. And Wex, we were talking during the first intermission, I predicted that Indiana would get at least 55 shots in this one. So they've got about 17 to go to get to that number.
Well, Xavier ended the second period with 6 shots on goal, which for those of you mathematicians out there would put them on pace for about 9. Garrett, do you see them getting more than that?
There's still a lot of time left. I think they'll get over 9. I'm going over 55, over 9.
You're sounding like Portnoy now on the Barstool TV broadcast they had earlier today.
I'm going to sound like Stu here in a minute.
14:20 to go, and the puck flips up off the glass and into the netting behind the cage. So it'll be a power play for the Xavier Musketeers. With an extra skater, they are at under 15%, 14.9 to be exact. 7 power play goals on 47 chances. And Indiana trying to kill off penalties at 84%. Through the first 3 weekends of the season, Indiana was at 92% until they gave up a few ugly power play goals to opponents. One of which, Garrett, was a goal that cost Sammy Billis his first shutout of the season, that 8-1 drubbing of Michigan State at the Munn Ice Arena.
Yeah, the Hoosiers still unable to get a shutout.
And there goes the tally on the board. Xavier puts a crooked number up here in the final period. 5-2 now the score with under 14 to play. And if Indiana's not careful, Xavier may chip back away at this lead.
Yeah, just another breakdown out in front right there. They're leaving guys unmanned right in front of the crease. And an easy tuck right there for the Musketeers. It's 5-2 now.
It appears to be Matt Rapini going through the handshake line first. And if that is Rapini on the goal, it would be his first of the year. Off the draw, Indiana again on their heels and having to play it away out of their own zone. Pushed forward, 2-on-2 rush. Here comes Chambers moving around, tries to outflank the Xavier D-men. Gets pushed around and then drills his man into the ice. Cartalicchio getting all kinds of snow on his sweater. Slavin a shot. Can't find the goal. And it gets punched against the half-dashers and into the corner. Through the trapezoid, and now the whistle's been blown for a cross-check, it looks like, on the far side, Garrett.
Yeah,
so with 13:26, we'll have another special team situation.
This one's going to go against Slavin. So another power play for the Musketeers here. Maybe not. It's going against Xavier. Slavin looked like he was disappointed in himself, but.
So Indiana will be on the attack again. A 5-on-4 power play for 2 minutes. Sitting in the box is number 86, Andrew Monroe of the Musketeers. Played to the blue line. Warner sets his skates. Now feeds to the far side. McDonald's shot goes off a skate blade, and he plays it from the seat of his pants. Warner facing the wrong direction, heading toward McCaskey in net and giving the Xavier Killers a chance to regroup. Now all kinds of space in front of Will Jeremy. He flings it along the glass, and a 1-2 pass. Now entering the zone. Outside the circle, along the goal line, threaded in front, pushed away, and a goal for Michelli. Out of nowhere, a second chance opportunity and a power play marker for the Hoosiers, finally getting the special teams on the right direction.
Yeah, Drew Michelli just tapping in the puck on the weak side right there. He was standing all by himself, and he gets the power play goal right there. You mentioned, Sam, they've been few and far between this year, so they'll take every one they can get.
Third power play goal for Drew Michelli on the year. He was named an assistant captain last night via Twitter. One of 3 alternates for this Indiana team. Garrett, normally you just see 2 A's and a C, and for Indiana they've chosen to go with 1 C and 3 A's.
Yeah, I think it would have been a really tough decision as to who was going to get that last A, so they just decided to add another one, but I don't have a problem with it.
The Naples, Florida native gets goal number 6, and it's a touchdown to a safety in favor of the Hoosiers.
Minus the extra point.
Extra point pending, of course, Garrett. Indiana pushing it forward out of their own D zone, and Russo knocks the puck forward, but doing so catches his own team offside. And with 12:27 to go, a 4-goal margin in favor of Indiana.
We'll say the extra point was sound. Wide right.
We've talked about our expectation, Garrett. This game might get a little bit chippy in the final third, or at least the final 10 minutes of this game. And Xavier has had plenty of DQs and misconducts. They even had a couple of bench penalties and bench misdemeanors as well.
And when you're a team that's struggled as much as Xavier has, you just know that guys are going to get frustrated. And I'm sure it's tough to keep a positive mindset day after day when you're not seeing results, but just a couple instances of mental breakdowns right there and need to control.
Speaking of mental breakdowns, Garrett, feels like this cold is freezing some of my brain cells. 12 and change to go here in the third, although the scoreboard reads the second period erroneously. Pushed forward by Leo Warner. Has had a lot of ice time, so it would seem, tonight, Garrett. And Indiana trying to gain the zone, but cede possession in the process. Zigzagging around is Cardalicchio. He smacks the glass, and it's flung forward along the blue line and yanked away. Here comes DiLorenzo, sidesteps a man. Pulls it to himself, one-timer, pops high into the air and into the protective netting along the fans. So 11.5 to go. And Indiana still only a 4-goal lead. They won last year 10-4. And it could have been a much more lopsided score if not for Jack Frams and the 2 late goals that Xavier scored in garbage time.
And Wex, a side note here, my hot chocolate is finally drinkable. I'm very cold. I burnt my mouth a little bit before, but it's tasting pretty good now.
That might be the best news all night, Garrett.
Oh, yeah.
Into the corner on the near side. Big collision. Bodies smacking against each other. Slavin tries to reach for it. Can't get a shot off. And now he gets spun around. Leaves it for a teammate. That's Myers, a shot through traffic. Bounding off the fireplace where Hawkins punches it again to a teammate. Brandenburg chasing it down. Bringing Mahalik in tow. Now towards Slavin. Backhanded pass to the near side. Hawkins a 1-2 back to Chambers. Leaving at the blue line. Chambers blows a tire. Brandenburg a shot. Gloved by Goad. And the shots on goal 42-8 Garrett, that 9 goals,
gonna be
9
close.
shots on goal will be a nail-biter.
It's going to be close. Don't know if Indiana's going to quite make it to 55 either, but I think they'll hit the century mark for sure.
Half century, Garrett.
Yeah. Like you said, we're losing brain cells in here, man.
Cold weather. Behind the net, Slavin tries a Michigan play and then decides to send it in front. Hawkins gets nearly dragged down, and a centering pass right under Slavin's stick. Brandenburg collects it, shot in, wobbling across, and it's whisked away by Rapini, sailing through the air and gloved down by Evrard. Big 3-man collision, and Chambers spins around, twirling, and the pirouette pass goes to Slavin. Deeks, a little fancy footwork, still stays onto it despite the check, and as his side changes, a stick goes flying across the ice. McDonald has his eyes up, tries to re-enter the zone, and does so now, giving it to Offenbach. His shot feeding down low. Stick handling in a matchbox. A shot through, deflected right on the near side post. Could not get it to change direction to the way they wanted. McDonald chops at it, gives it to Goodfellow. Russo trying to do everything he can to stifle this attack. Now to Kissel along the glass, rugby scrum. Russo pokes at it, and it's swatted out of the air. Offenbach saw it coming at his face, pushed forward, and now a hand pass is called, although, Garrett, it looked like Offenbach played it with his stick afterward.
Yeah, it was a close call against Offie there. He's talking to the linesman about it, but going back to the pass by Slavin, normally they say hit it where they ain't, but Slavin took that literal and hit the stick where the guy ain't, and it went all the way to the other side of the ice, but the puck was close to it. Normally that would be a penalty, but that's fair game.
Indiana wins the draw, immediately snapping D-to-D passes. McDonald chasing it into the corner. Offenbach, little upset, trying to chase down and lay a hit. Now to Kicker, who uses every bit of his body and lets his teammates work around with it. Offenbach didn't see the pass coming, and it's pushed the opposite direction. Here comes Monroe. His shot doesn't find the net, and we're at 9 and change here in period number 3. They finally fixed the scoreboard, Garrett. 6-2, still the score in favor of Indiana. After a hat trick by Nicholas Castricani, lit up the scoreboard in the first and second. Flying through the air, and Monroe steps onto it before the whistle's blown. And so 8 minutes and 48 to go. We'll have a stoppage in play and a face-off on the Indiana attacking third. Draw one on the near side to the paddle side of Adam Goad. He'd be in line for his 3rd loss of the season in his 4th game played, Garrett.
Yeah, it's been a struggle just trying to get that first win for Goad, but the whole team's still trying to get the first win, so you can't put it all on him.
Well, he's not the first netminder to struggle to get the first W of the year. Jack Thompson, the backup netminder for Indiana, didn't get a victory until his 5th outing. Warner a shot, swinging it across. Michelli fighting ferociously to get that puck back. And his next-door neighbor, Timmons, knocks the puck free. Here comes Warner. Little head fake and a hezzy-hey. Thrown in front, and Goad pounces on top of it. The puck was just outside the crease, and he made sure to make his presence known. And the referees are tossing somebody out of the game. They are furious.
Didn't quite see what happened there. But we were just talking about the disciplinary problems for Xavier, and
looks like a cross-check, judging by the angry hand signals of one of the referees, Garrett. Sitting in the box is Matt Rapini. Rapini, one of the 2 goals scored. And that would be his 3rd and 4th penalty minutes of the season, his 2nd penalty overall. So Indiana back onto the power play. 1 for 3 thus far. They hold the zone. Here comes Warner, who's taken a plethora of shots from the blue line. Sharp angle. Jeremy gets it poke checked away. And Warner dives but can't keep it in the zone. It rims all the way toward McCaskey. Xavier's side thinks about a change. Pass along the blue line. Guided in. Here comes Matt Mahan to the backside on the short-handed chance. Russo swings and misses, and it rolls to the near side glass. McDonald tries to use his body to push it forward, but instead Xavier, down a man on a 5-on-4 power play for Indiana, are really doing a great job to stymie this attack, and now a high stick play has been called by the official. So 7 minutes exactly remaining on the board in the third period. Just a reminder, we'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon, a 3:30 p.m. puck drop from the Frank Southern Ice Arena against these same Xavier Musketeers. Next weekend, Indiana will head to Chicago, Illinois to face DePaul, a team they haven't played since the 2019-20 season. And Garrett, that was my freshman year. I can tell you I did not make that trip because Casey and I were a little bit busy with other broadcasts at the time.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good one. All the boys looking forward to it. We'll be playing at Johnny's. Doesn't get much better than that.
Right in front on a shorthanded chance. Adams trying to push one right past McCaskey. Instead, the Hoosiers will continue this power play in the right direction. Hawkins out of his normal spot, plays it to Castricani. They overlap, and Castricani flings it, only to get it right back from Slavin, standing in the trapezoid. Hawkins' a shot deflected. Gustafson a backhand, rolls up onto the shoulder of the netminder. Castricani pokes at it. Can't get it to go, and again into the corner. 5 seconds left on the power play, and it leaves the zone, meaning Matt Rapini can exit the box. Here comes Gustafson zigzagging in. DiLorenzo a one-timer, rolling into the crease. Whistle blown, and it looks like Adam Goad has pulled another rabbit out of his hat, Garrett.
Another good save made by Goad. As you mentioned, Sam, now 45 shots for Indiana as we're under the 6-minute mark before we get to head on home.
And a late bus ride it will be. We've already had discussions about who gets to sleep at what point in the bus ride in order to make sure everybody's fresh enough for tomorrow's afternoon puck drop. Controlled by Goodfellow at center ice. He plays it to DiLorenzo. Poked free. Here comes Castricani on the attack again. He has been a menace to Xavier this entire game, Garrett.
The hat trick he got in the second period, he was able to finish it off. So less than 40 minutes of ice time, 3 goals. You can't ask for much more than that.
DiLorenzo's shot gets bounced up into the air, and it's played free by Connor Roche. Stands into his own corner and swings it off the glass. 2-on-1 rush. Russo has House in tow. Russo fakes, poked away by McCaskey, and it rolls into the corner. Garrett, the over on those shots on goal finally hit for you.
There we go.
Under a nickel to play in the game. 6-2 the score in favor of Indiana. A pass to exit the zone. 2-on-2 rush. Jeremy with DiLorenzo. DiLorenzo zigzagging through the slot. Avoids a quick check. And it ricochets after a paddle save into the corner. Warner again is able to hold the zone. It wobbles free and behind the cage. Michelli racing in. Holds his man. Timmons a shot. Deflecting, and it looked like it caught some of the metal in between the panes of glass. To the near side where it's played into the slot. Timmons gets spun around. And the centering pass through the middle of the slot bounces off the boards, collected by Simoneau, who plays it all the way back toward Timmons. Moving in. From a sharp angle, it rolls behind the cage. Goad craning his neck to try and find the puck. And that was a dangerous situation. Not a whole lot of lie in this puck, Garrett, despite the fact that it is just about as cold as an actual meat cooler.
No, it's flying around. Puck probably a little firmer than usual.
Slung against the boards. Xavier trying to break out of their own end. They do so successfully. Here's Keetle. 3.5 to play. Indiana up by 4. Here comes Gustafson. Finally a 3-on-3 rush now. Tries to leave it for a teammate, but no one was there, and the white sweaters prevail in holding off another Indiana rush.
We've heard legends of pucks shattering due to coldness back at the Frank in the olden days.
I tend to take people at their word, and one of the alumni of the Indiana program has told us those stories, and I tend to believe him, Garrett. Another Indiana skater blows a tire. McCaskey a kick save, forcing it into the corner on the far side. Xavier putting up a heck of an effort in the final moments of this game. Played into center ice. Gustafson gains the zone. Stick handle, shoots, and doesn't hit the target. Bouncing off the window to the backside where Myers collects it. Chambers swings his stick at it, and Goad throws his glove on top of it before Keetle and Chambers both go down into a heap. 2:34 in the third. And just 2 goals for Xavier that really we did not expect coming into this one.
And Indiana reached 50 shots, but like you mentioned, Sam, you would have liked to see the Hoosiers get their first shutout of the season. Still looking for it. They've had a couple of 1-goal games, but Xavier able to put up 2. That's a win for them.
In front, Slavin tries a little toe drag, but it gets poke checked away. Into the corner, spun around. Cardelicchio gets drilled from behind and then from the front. He's trying to hold on to the puck and pin it against the yellow. Slavin digging in, trying to shovel it away. And still kicking around in the zone. Indiana able to hold on to it. Hawkins charging back in and sending it rimming around. Under 2 to play. Hawkins, a no-look pass over toward Chambers. He swings. Looked like he had a lightsaber there, Garrett. He was just swinging on 1 foot. Now rushing in. Here comes Pereira. Thinks about a shot, and it was handled by McCaskey with 1:45 to go in the third.
And it looks like this game is going to end before 1 a.m. Currently, it's 12:44 Eastern time. Got 16 minutes of real time to go and a minute 45 of game time, so might make an early arrival back to Bloomington.
Garrett, we've jinxed enough plays on the ice. Let's hope we don't jinx the arrival time back home. Sent into the attacking zone again for Indiana. Brandenburg, a no-look pass. Bouncing in front of the cage. Goad trying to wrap his arm around the side of the net, and does so this time. So with 1:24 to go, it looks like this one may be a formality.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys posted at home if anything out of the ordinary happens on the bus ride. Maybe a flat tire or something like that, but fingers crossed, no.
It's deer season, Garrett. You better be careful with your words.
Yeah.
Indiana wins the draw. Brandenburg sends a lazy shot about knee-high across the ice into the corner. Kissel moving on to it, and it's back toward McDonald, whose shot goes over the bar. Into the near side corner. Indiana still attacking, where it slides around and right back toward McDonald's stick. Played right in front. Castricani can't get a hard shot on net. McDonald tries to center it, but again it's poked away. Warner steps up. His shot goes into a body, and it's kicked down by Russo. His no-look pass to Raffone gets swung lazily with under a minute to go. And Xavier trying to move the momentum and get out of their own end zone. Played forward and roulette wheeled from near to far. Xavier finally out of the shadows of their own end zone. Half a minute to play, a 4-goal margin for Indiana. Monroe didn't see the puck. It's now a 2-on-1 rush. DiLorenzo has Null to the backside. DiLorenzo shoots. Misses his mark. Under 20 seconds to play, and it is thrown around into the zone. If this score holds, Garrett, it'll be a 9-7-0 record for Indiana, and Xavier will fall to 0-12 on the year. The last time Xavier got a victory in the T, it was 2021. And as the buzzer sounds, that's how things will close out. Final score 6-2. The Hoosiers put a tally in the win column. And Garrett, it's been a little bit since I've been able to say that after the sweep last weekend against Louisville.
Oh yeah, you know the boys were ready for this game today to try to get off the schneid, and they come through with a 6-2 victory in dominating fashion. Just love to see it.
Well, handshakes and fist bumps are taking place at center ice. Want to remind you that Club Hockey at Indiana University is brought to you by the following team sponsors: Course and Fire and Security, the Blue Blazers Events Group, and Top Flight Hockey. Garrett, any final thoughts before we head to the bus and try to warm up?
And I think everything really went as expected today, with the exception of Xavier finding a little bit of offense, but that was mainly due in large part to the mistakes made by Indiana. 50 shots on goal. You can't ask for much more than that. You expect to win the game when you get that many shots. And 6 goals, I mean, the goaltending was pretty decent for Xavier today. I thought it was a good performance put in by Goad. He held his own, but when you're facing that many shots, there's only so much you can do. McCaskey gets another win, his second start of this season, and he's 2-0 so far. So great job by Brendan McCaskey.
For the 4th straight game that we have shots on goal reported, Xavier allows 50 or more shots on goal against, and their netminders have been busy in nearly every single game. And if it weren't for guys like Frams and Goad picking up the slack on the backside, there would be a lot more blowouts for the Xavier Musketeers to try to stomach.
Yeah, unfortunately, Indiana picking up the win today. We'll have the next game tomorrow on the Indiana Hockey Broadcast Network as well, and it's time to fortify the Frank again, Wex. I'm getting so cold I can't even talk anymore.
Well, with that in mind, my feet are numb as well. Alongside Ben Stannard and Garrett Drake, final score 6-2. The Indiana Hoosiers put a tally in the win column here in Cincinnati from the SportsPlus Center. This is Club Hockey at Indiana University on the Indiana Hockey Broadcast Network.